Hello, whoever just joined. We'll probably wait a couple of minutes for others to join. I see people just starting to enter. So, for now, for those who join, type in the chat while we're waiting a couple of minutes. Where are you calling from today? And what's your goal? And with this, we'll slowly start. Nick joining from UK and like to understand product in general a bit better. Okay, that's that sounds good. Karen also from UK. Shubhajit, if I pronounced it right, from India, with non-tech background, want to deepen his understanding, tech understanding. Okay, that makes sense. I'll help you a bit with this today. Oh, we have a poll. Okay, guys, maybe one more minute. I still see people joining, so we'll ensure that everyone can start from beginning. Where I'm based. I'm based in Amsterdam. Uh, Surprisingly shiny in the last couple of weeks. Usually it's not so good. Okay, we have Joanna here, also from Amsterdam, with non-tech background. Makes sense. Okay, we have Mary from Toronto, with heavy business background, looking for deepen her tech understanding. Super cool. So far, 100% match of what we're going to discuss today. London non-tech, Vilnius. Here we go. Nice. Cool. Okay, I think maybe we can slowly roll in. The world, yeah, yes. Oh, okay. And we have Dilara from France. That's cool. Cool. So, guys, please confirm you see my screen before I start. I hope you do. Yep, see my screen. Cool. Let's go then. So it will be quite practical today, so don't take popcorn yet. Be close to your laptops or phones. We'll do some practice today. Uh, First of all, I start with a common belief. Like product managers don't have to be technical. Like there are uh, a lot of people who think that that's true, but with their experience, they start to feel that something just doesn't work. Especially in a world which becomes more and more technical with more services around us. Most of the product are in internet. Uh, they actually they probably already likely have to be technical, and I'll try to explain today why and give you a bunch of examples. So hopefully by end of this call, this belief will be a bit challenged. Good news, that technicality, just a skill, as everything else, it can be learned, no magic. Another good news, you don't have to be developer, right? And actually, it's a big mistake to think that you really should go deep and learn what developers know. That's impossible. Tech is infinite. Just learning one language properly probably will take you a couple of years. And there are much more than just one programming language. Good news for us leaders, we can lead and be effective without becoming developers. And again, I hope I'll at least start to explain how does work today. And yeah, we just need to master the part we need, and that's what we're going to focus on. I like have metaphors, something from like normal life, which can be used to explain complex conceptions. So I define technical skills like driving skills in real life, right? You don't have to know the engine internals or other details of the car to drive from A to B, but you should know enough to get safely to your destination. So you should know where your tires are, how maybe pump them, where's the gasoline, and so on. So you need to understand something to be a good leader in this case of your car. So that metaphor might help you to kind of wrap your mind around what I'm going to talk today about. About me in 20 seconds, super quickly. I actually started as a 12 developer and PhD student, so it was 100% of tech. I then joined Booking as a core infrastructure PM, so it was very technical but still product. Then I moved to payments platform after 3 years, and it was still very technical, but let's say 50-50 with product. Then I moved to, after 3 years again, to Trips platform, which was even less technical and more product. And currently I lead PM there, the same title, for the different name for the same title is Group PM. So now I'm much more businessy than before, and I kind of had this nice path from being very technical to much less technical. So I know all the angles of this story, and I hope I'll be able to share it with you today. I'm apart from work, I'm passionate about tech for non-tech people topic, and I run internal tech for PM trainings in Booking, which usually quite full. And I also did quite a few successful self-paced courses, which already made a couple of thousand people happy, and this makes me happy also. Enough about me. This is for you today, right? So in 60 minutes, probably a bit less, we'll cover a bunch of stuff. So yeah, stay tuned. I talk a bit about tech skills and examples. Then we going to do a section of product managers and APIs, and it will be some practice there. So yeah, you also do some cool stuff with your own hands. Then we do a bit of AI prototyping. It's a hype topic, so we'll also use Replit to generate API app on the fly. And then we talk about another PM instrument architecture, and also we'll do some practice. So it will be quite fun. And at the end, if you have any questions, happy to answer. House rules, it's your time, so ask questions in the chat. It's open, so I'll be happy to answer. If it's a complex question at the end, if it's easy right away. And even though I say PMs, product managers, the same applicable for program managers, project managers, design leads, analysts. So I see these roles also benefit from technical knowledge a lot because it's the same technical knowledge for everyone. It doesn't differ between the roles. Cool. First of all, why PMs need tech skills at all? Quickly, you all know this. There are multiple variations of this: ideate, research, build, analyze. So this is where, with most non-technical people, is a gap, because yeah, that's actually where technical skills are involved. And there is a survey done last year with a lot of 600 people, PMs responding to that. You can see it on the screen, and it's kind of, again, if you read it, it's all about build, like better estimate features, projects, and meet deadlines. That's again not about ideate research. That's about how deliver what you ideated. Speak the same language with your developers as your development team. That's again about the same thing. Understand what decisions team makes. It's kind of speaking the same language, but from a bit different angle. Evaluate projects without being dependent on the team, right? When you ideated something, researched how you can quickly make estimation of will it take 1 week or 1 month or 1 year, right? All these questions. And I'm just curious if type in the chat, do you see any reason, your reason, which is not listed in here? Something you would add to this list? Why you might need tech skills? Increasingly becoming a requirement of being hired. That's a great point, indeed. Yeah, I'm going to give a couple of examples, but yeah, companies like Uber, and so on, like at least those in Amsterdam, they need technical skills, even for non-technical job. Sit at the table and brainstorm engineering solutions. Yeah, great point. Is kind of speaking the same language with your team, but also in application to brainstorm. Makes sense. To feel confident when conversing with tech teams. Yeah, totally. Uh, to not get crazy bored during refinement when your engineers talk tech. Yeah, that's that's life. And indeed, that's actually quite cool part. If you're non-technical, you can be dragged into very technical discussions because you don't know where the border. If you're technical enough, you know where's your border, and when you actually can cut and put your wall, and behind this wall you don't go. You say what why is mine product, how is tech, and like it's your territory, that's my territory, and that's how we cut responsibilities. Okay, and Deep says to collaborate better, understand their challenges and concerns. That's also very good, right? We are not in fights with our dev team. We want to work together to, yeah, to be effective. So we should collaborate, and for that, yeah, we need to understand each other. To be better overall leader for teams that include large tech deliveries. Yeah, it's very true. Going to give a couple of examples, but yeah, there are quite technical products just by its nature. If you think about Google Maps, if you think about Uber, if you think about booking and so on, there are just some quite technical deliverables. Like think about Uber engine, which searches for taxis, right? Is not a piece of cake to develop this one. And if you lead something like that, you better be technical. Um, cool. Yes, let's continue. Thank you. That's very useful. I might add it to next poll, so it will be more options. I actually have another exercise for you right away. So as we so far agreed, tech-savvy PMs know how to build things, right? And I'm just curious, like, can you guess how many product teams power this page? You can transform it also how many services power this page, but teams also fine, because usually with big enough service there is a team. Just type a number in the chat like 3 or something else. So it's Amazon, we have search box, I search for headphones, there are some filters, I see some headphones. So I see 3, 5, 8, 4, at least 12. Okay. 5, 4, 5, 7, 6. Okay. So quite big numbers. Okay, 5. Let's count together. So first of all, it's probably a team of PMs, like a bunch of services and team of product managers, tech product managers. Search domain, like Amazon search is probably insanely complex thing. Pricing deals, right? For those who worked in real big companies, you all know that like this is not just a number. This price, it is not just a number. This is probably a track, like 3 or 4 or 5 teams working just to have clear pricing across all over the world, and also discounts. That's another track. Uh, there is some storage and categorization, right? If you think about it, like for headphones, it should be one filters, for bicycles, other filters, for cutlery, other filters, and so on. So there are probably team there. There is team of images. We play with images with you today. So far, I believe many of you think, oh, it's just images. There is nothing there. Trust me, it's quite some stuff there, especially on a scale of Amazon. Images can be big, small, rounded, with watermark, without watermark, how to upload them, and so on. There is quite some magic. Custom review service, probably another bunch of services and teams. Actually, Amazon Web Services is something which this whole website sits on, infrastructure. And shopping cart, of course, right? It also that it's not just an icon, it's a couple of services there, and customer account, even like that part where is your name, password, and so stored. For big companies is probably a team or a bunch. So at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 teams, probably tracks. Track means 3, 4 teams. probably multiplied by 2, so maybe around 20 or more. And I see Tulika adds, yeah, there is probably, yeah, ranking, yes, header, yes, login, yes. So yeah, there's probably more. So apart from like Teams, you can also translate this exercise into what services do I see? And if you tech savvy, you can see services, right? And that means you can build things because for you, it's just not a page anymore. That's a page with bunch of stuff powering this page. Cool. And the same happens in Google Docs product, in Uber product, in all the omni-channel messengers like MessageBurst, SendBird. There are many of them. Amazon Web Services. We mentioned Stripe, biggest gateway for payments, and so on. So it's absolutely the same. You can take the product and see what powers it. Let's look a bit from different angle to the same thing, right? You can also notice that you need tech skills in your daily PM life. Like forget about Amazon for a second. Let's say, and someone of you mentioned, like even before you get a job, which becomes increasingly more complex to get if you trying to get position of which needs tech skills. Like, can you please draw an architecture diagram of Tinder? Right, that's actually real question from interview was asked to one of my friends. And like, if you're not technical, you get like, yes, and you probably end up, I don't know, maybe doing some like UI on a piece of paper. But if you're technical, you create architecture diagram because you know how things work more or less. You can imagine with this X-ray vision, like we did with Amazon, what's needed to power this thing, where photos will be coming from, how swipes will work, and so on. You probably end up drawing something. Another example, you just joined a new team. And of course, you read some documents, you're trying to understand what surrounds you, because only if you understand the map, you can understand where to go, right? It helps you to orientate in the environment. So again, as a non-technical PM, you can be a bit lost or at least limited with your abilities. And surprise, surprise, as a tech PM, you actually do the same exercise. You grab your tech lead in the room, buy them a couple of coffees, and you create architecture diagram together because it allows you to see with what you surrounded in big company. So for those of you who just joined new team, do this exercise. You will be absolutely tired after a couple of hours, but you will be happy to because your brain will be extended with a lot of information what you can do because you now understand what surrounds you. Another example, developers, they say we need to blah, so then blah. It will take 3 months. If you are in product management enough, you, yeah, you probably face such situations, especially when it's 3 months, 5 months, it's a bit annoying. And again, as a non-tech PM, you like, yeah, you're surprised, but you cannot really say anything because it's tech world and you're not sure how to approach it. As a tech PM, you can challenge it, right? So you understand more or less how their world structure, the language they speak, so you can start to ask structural questions. Again, I like in this case, I cannot give you generic answer, but once we have all the instruments in your head, you will be able to. And another one, last one, I think from these examples, I need to add currency conversion to the search page. You think for yourself, you need as a PM. And you write a Jira ticket, add currency conversion. Again, that might work, might not, depends on how good your developers are. If it's a tiny startup, maybe they figure it out. If it's a big company, probably you screw it for 6 months. Again, as a tech PM, you explore APIs for currency conversions out there, you write a PRD, you list functional, non-functional requirements, you structure all of this, and because you have tech knowledge, you know what's important, what's not. And this will probably become not a ticket, but a PRD, but it increases probability that stuff will be actually done. Okay, let's do mini exercise. Like any other situations in your life like this, like small situations where you need it, which I didn't list. Maybe just spend 20 seconds on this. Someone in the chat. Yeah, okay. Last slide works. Uh, Pretty much ticked all the boxes. comment on RFC with a lot of tech jargon. Yeah, that's actually quite good one, right? So RFC is more a technical document when developers try to explain what they plan to do. And sometimes you're involved to, take a look, give your opinion, review. And if you cannot distinguish tech implementations, let's say, I don't know, MongoDB database, which is just the instance of a database, and you cannot focus on what, why, and being drowned into how, then yeah, you are screwed. Tech generally assumes that people are on the same page, so in their discussion documents, they assume some amount of prior knowledge. Yeah, these are not easy to read. I totally agree with that. Sometimes when engineers talk about APIs, there are so many of them, and it's hard to keep track of which is responsible for what. Yeah, that's very good point. And on API, we have an exercise today, so I hope it will already help you. Cool. Okay. Actually, yeah, good. Quite a few to the list. I related to every single slide. Mary says the last slide photo on the crane next to at currency conversion is gold. Okay, thank you. Yes, so many people, it resonates with them. That's good. Coolio. So I actually created checklist. So like it will appear now in the chat. Please don't dive into it right now. You can take a look at it after the call. I also send it in a mail. But this is basically a list of all situations like this where you can have the need in tech skills and what to do, right? Like it's a lot of information there. Like take it easy, check it. But yeah, you will discover that there are more situations where you need tech skills, and then hopefully, if you at least know where tech skills are needed, you can learn and apply the right skills at this point. Cool. How to learn tech skills? Obviously, a short answer is you need to practice. For that, there is a course which I did. There are two versions of that. One, it's hands-on. I call it simulator. It's a story where you solve a lot of exercises to practice skills, technical skills one by one. API, architecture, SLIs, SLOs, testing. The cool part that it's super practical. So it's 80% of practice, a bit of theory. That's the only way which can help you to learn. It was not created yesterday. It's not just some hypey thing. I created it 3 years ago. Bunch of people already finished it. So yeah, be my guest. That's quite cool. And you get 20% off if you want to learn. There is a self-paced version of that. It's number one. And there is the same thing plus live sessions. And I do it probably once, maybe twice. I don't plan to do it regularly, maybe a couple of times per year. The one which is upcoming 29th of March, 12th of April. So live session, bunch of self-practice, another live session. And if group wants, we do another live session. If you enjoy the practice, we can practice more. So I have two options. One, you can do whenever you want. Another, you can do with me on a live session starting 29th of March. Cool. Okay. You see the links. You can scan QR code. I also send the coupon later. But now let's practice. We obviously won't be able to cover everything. But as I promised, we cover at least API, a bit of GenAI prototyping, and architecture. Let's go. First of all, for those who don't know, for those who know, just relax for 20 seconds. For those who doesn't know, API is a way services talk to each other, like humans, but machines. Right? For example, you have Mood Meme app, which we're going to build with you, and it doesn't want to generate images itself. It wants to do some other logic. It also can be social network on the left. And it wants to outsource the work of generating image to another service, single meme generator service. And in order to do that, this service from the left calls the API, right? It requests, hey, give me a picture with this text. The orange box says API. API says, okay, wait a second, hopefully a bit faster. It does the magic and it comes back with an image and says, here is your image. Or maybe it says it's error, but in this case, it returns an image. Profit for the asking service is that it does less work, right? I can completely avoid all the meme logic, images, image text overlay stuff, and so on. I can only focus on my my business logic, and leave images to service on the right. Service on the right, though, can make money. And we go into check with you example in a second, where developer who created the Meme API actually asks, send me give me some tips for coffee. Obviously, if you are Stripe or some other API which offers service to millions of customers, you take more than coffee. You make actually money with that, right? But the general idea, I will outsource the work I don't want to do for service on the left, and for service on the right, let me make something useful for everyone, and I'm going to be like just taking fee for that. Cool. So the same way we have language and some structures, right? Like subject, verb, whatever. Computers also should have structure. Otherwise, they don't understand each other. So particularly in this example we go into call with you now, the API address is API memegen.link. That's like an address of a house with a country, so you can find it in the world of internet. That's unique. API endpoint is images, because there are other API endpoints. This is an image name, Buzz. Yeah, Buzz, that guy. These two parameters responsible for text at the top and text at the bottom, PM calling API everywhere. Because APIs don't really understand spaces, there is this underscore sign, but whatever, it like doesn't really matter. And finally, another last parameter is format. It also can be changed to PNG, for example. And then once we call this, it either responds with success and we get our image, or it gives us some error, some non-explained error or explained error. Non-explained are the worst, but hopefully it will give us explained error. Yes, and by the way, if you have questions, please ask in the chat. But yeah, another developer could have created a bit different API with a bit different structure, but once you understand the main points of address and point, parameters, separators between parameters, you are good. You easily adopt to another language. So let's play with it a bit. So now, if we have it in the chat, let me see. I can send it to you guys. Oh, here we go. So now you can click it. And if you click, you should be able to see the, bus. Yes, this thing. Can you say yes if you can? Yes, I see some yeses. Amazing. So what you just done, you really called API. So congratulations, right? You can already get respectful looks from your team. So you called an API memegen link images, and chose the image bus, passed these three parameters, and got response the image. Amazing. So now I have a task for you. Can you change the text of the picture? Can you change the format of the picture? And can you change the buzz, like underground image, to something, background image to something else? Try both, for example, and send in a chat link with all three changed. And it should be working image. Yes, while you guys thinking, I answer like Clayton, you had a question like, is a endpoint is just part of an anatomy? Yes, because for example, people indeed it's used interchangeably. That happens with jargon. But if you think about Stripe, people say Stripe API, right? Payments API, but it's huge. It probably has maybe 100 endpoints, right? So it's like if I use analogy from the real life, it's like huge house with bunch of entrances. API in general, that's house, that address, and endpoints are different entrances to this huge house. I hope it's now explains. Okay, Nick send this link. Let's try text for everyone. Nice. Okay, we have different image, different text, and different format, right? And if we try to enter some nonsense, you see, API didn't return server error. It actually just nicely, it calls graceful degradation. There is a fancy term for that. Maybe you heard it from your developers. It returns as empty background, but instead of just dying, it at least tries something, which is good for this API. Thank you for developers who developed it. Okay, let's see, Joanna, add it to the feature request doc. Yes, okay, good. Creativity flows. Cool. So what we just did, we called an API, and hopefully it's now a bit clear the anatomy of this, right? There is address, there is endpoint, there are parameters. The magic of API is that parameters can be different, right? That's the whole magic. If API would only do one thing, it would be quite useless. We could just save the image and store it. But because image can be different, format can be different, text can be different, that opens infinite possibilities. And now imagine you have this API, other 5 APIs, you can create a cool product with that. Let's go. Okay, continue. Okay, what else should you know? Obviously, it's not, unfortunately, not the end for API, right? You sometimes need to find documentation and understand what's possible yourself, right? Like with this image is with a crying face of just do currency conversion for me. Unfortunately, PM job, okay, find suitable currency conversion API, read through the docs, 10 minutes, understand what's possible, what's not, is it suitable for your product, not. You should be able to call more sophisticated API, right? Unfortunately, not every API you can call nicely from a browser line in your company probably is much more complex, but there's a solution for that called Postman. You can call any API with that. You just need to understand how it works. For complex integrations, if you do, let's say, payments integration in Amazon on a real product, you really need to go a bit deeper, right? You really don't want to rely and hope that development team will do everything as you wish. You sometimes use another instrument called sequence diagram. VPMs also use it if it's complex integration. Always if multiple services integrated and there's a sequence call. One service calls another, calls third, and comes back, you need sequence diagram. And it's different from service diagram, by the way. Give feedback to the API owner, right? Someone tells you, oh, use my API in the company, and you should be able to tell when API is bad and you want something else. Otherwise, you will suffer later. And again, from product perspective, I'm not talking about technicalities here. Sometimes you expose your own API if your company make money with it, like Stripe, or if you are one PM of internal service, you offer your functionality through API. You should understand what can go wrong with API, how it can break, and how to save it from breaking. Yeah, as a PM is your job, especially if it's your product. And so on. I prepared another checklist for you. Again, don't go with this now, please. Otherwise, we'll lose you. It's in the chat, but also I'll send it in a mail. There are a bunch of situations which happen to you as a product manager in relation to API, and there are explanation what you should do, some examples, and where to practice. Coolio. Okay. We go to architecture diagram, but before we do, we're going to build an app. So in an old world, I would have probably need developer, and probably it would have taken maybe like super strong developer, maybe hour, like maybe junior developer who never worked with technology, maybe a couple of days to figure out. So what I'm going to do, and if you haven't done it, I explain what I do. So I registered with Replit. It took 4.5 minutes. That's entry screen of Replit, one of the GenAI tools. It says, what do you want to build? And that's what I'm going to tell it. Oh, wait a second. I'm saying build a very simple mood meme generator app with 2 elements. Input, maximum 20 characters, so it's nice and small. Free text. The input will be free text. This will be a mood passed by user. Wait a second. Yeah, okay, it should be a list, yes. Input and second button. On button click, take the mood from the text field, generate 2-line joke based on this mood, and call the endpoint below, passing line 1 and 2 as joke of the joke as parameters as follows, as we just did, right? So we did it manually. Now let's ask machine to do it. So now agent is thinking, and it is actually trying to build it for us. So what happens in reality? Replit sends it to GenAI endpoint. It can be ChatGPT. I think in this case it's Clouded, but it doesn't really matter. Based on this, it tries to understand what we ask and make a code for that, right? So in theory, okay, there is some plan. I say, yes, I approve your plan. In theory, what you can do, you can just use ChatGPT and create code files by yourself. But Replit does it for you. I think I paid $20 per month or something. So what it does, what the value proposition, it generates, it calls Cloud returns files, and it's nicely put them in the right place and build it. So what developer would do for you, Replit hopefully does. As you know, GenAI tools are probabilistic, meaning that they can just break, they can return something which is not working. So if in this case now our app won't work, then I'll just show you the one like the same, absolutely the same but working, which has generated hour ago, but hopefully it will be fine because they take in money to, yeah, making agents, you see agent on the left, taking money um, to teach it how to fix errors. Oh, you see, it has some problems already. Let's see. Okay. In this case, okay, it asks, give me OpenAI API. So it thinks it wants to call GenAI. I say, let me explain. First, I answer it. Don't need to use OpenAPI. Make jokes static. Yeah, so in this case, it assumes I need ChatGPT. And of course, it doesn't want to pay for me for ChatGPT. It says, give me a key. And then I can call ChatGPT for you. But I tell it, no. Don't make it too complicated. It's just an example. So, and see, it already generates some static jokes. So let's see if this time it actually able to do stuff. And by the way, that's a good illustration. If you didn't give your task well to your developer, then your developer might also build something you didn't ask for. Okay, let's see. It built something. So it says, indeed, it's mood meme generator. Enter your mood. I said I'm sad, and okay, it worked, right? So why did the cookie go to therapy? It was feeling crumbly. Yeah, okay, whatever. Maybe it's not the best joke in the world, but it worked. And let's say happy. What did Joy say to happiness? Let's party. Nice. Okay, whatever. Computers don't have the best sense of humor. But what just happened? In 20 seconds with one mistake, and actually that could have been your developer who started to do something very complex before you stopped it and stopped your developer and say, please don't go so deep. Please just let's build simple prototype. We build something which actually works. Then you can press a button, deploy. I'm not going to do it now. And then it's visible to all internet. So for example, I can send it to the chat now. This is the one I built hour ago, the same. You can play with it, right? So you can share with your colleagues in a second. That's not the point. Point is that we have now the app, which we can play with. And of course, you can make it much more complex. Now it's super stupid. Jokes are static, so they don't change. If you generate jokes 20 times, it will be the same 5 jokes. But you saw, right? It wants to connect to ChatGPT API integration. And if you understand how API works, you can guide it through. Otherwise, if you don't understand, in a couple of iterations, it will be so complex, then it will bury itself. Okay, now we have the app. So coming back to this, what I want us to do now is to do, okay, playing with GenAI is fun, but I tell you, don't fire your tech team, please, because it's just for quick prototyping. It's very buggy and it cannot replace developer, but it can make a simple example for us for teaching purposes. But what I want you to practice, what is useful and what you'll use quite often in your job, is service diagram, also known as architecture diagram. So I want you to think, let's think together, clients, front-end elements, backend services, databases, external integrations, right? So you see, you look at the app and if you're technical, you see these elements which help you to fully understand what's going on. Because if you build this diagram, that's almost truth. So it's almost, when we finish the one for the app we just did, it actually will be exactly how Replit built it. So it's real. And if you understand what's real, then you can guide your team to build exactly what you want. And yeah, and those who already passed the course, they're like, oh, it's easy. Coolio, let's do it together. That's last exercise. So yeah, last energy, please. So we see we have on the left clients, front end, like clients of the app, in this case users. Front end, in this case, is super simple, right? It's just the input box and button and the resulting image and the green element mood input. Then backend services, right? For now, it's empty. I didn't do anything, but that's what Replit did for us. Yes, that's what Replit did. And there is another backend service, the one which actually we called here, right? This image doesn't appear from nowhere, right? Someone built it for us. I don't know where service is, maybe in US, maybe in Europe. Some developer built it, and this code lives somewhere. So, and this does logic. So that's this gray box. And there are external integrations, which we go into, if we want, we can introduce. In our case, Replit gave us a hint what it tried to integrate. We go into edit just for fun. Cool. So what I want you now to do together with me, so we have two services. There must be some database, right, of the service which generate images. Like this Buzz image didn't go from nowhere, right? It's stored somewhere. That's a hint. So I would like you to, together with me, list what you think should be in this Meme database of the service, external service we called. Maybe throwaway ideas. I already gave you like the hint, right? Image itself, but what else? Metadata. Okay, what will be in the metadata, Karen? Okay, let me see. User ID. Okay, it's a good question. Good point. Luba, why you think this service should have my user ID? Maybe type in the chat. Info about what is the image, fade, created format. Yeah, maybe we can store it indeed. Okay, stock photo DB. Okay, actually, Clayton, nice. Joke generator service, image library service. So, okay, that's actually a joke. Let's call it joke generator service. That's the one Replit built for us, right? And we could have built with our own developers, but Replit built it for us. It gets the mood and generates a joke, call the image API. Yes, that's what this service does. But still in this database, which I'll make blue to have a different, yeah. Okay. Alternative text. Yeah, nice. Okay. First of all, we have image ID. It will be Buzz, right? Image file. It will be actual file, right? There will be what else? What you're saying? Okay, different format. Matching alternative text. I agree, right? If for some reason image is not there, let's put alternative text. Okay, I have a hint for you. So you see text. It can be, on top, at the bottom, in the middle, right? Like it's not random, right? So it should be stored somewhere. So probably is text coordinates, right? Okay, it should be allowed formats, probably allowed formats, and so on. There has to be a connecting field between the photo generating API and a joke generating API. Actually, the beauty of that yarn is that they are completely disconnected. So this service, let's call it meme generator, whatever. The only thing it does, it takes text, overlays it on the photo, on the image. That's it. It has its own database. Sorry, not meme, it should be PictureDB. Yeah. What else can it do in theory? It can maybe have external integration of file conversion, right? So for example, from JPEG to PNG, it can have format conversion API, right? In theory, that service can use another API to get images converted. Probably in practice, this code already lives with this service, but in theory, it can be like this, right? Okay, it's getting a bit messy, but we'll fix it. Cool. And here, what is the other external integration our service, the one which Replit generate, could have? What's the external integration here? Yeah, right. OpenAI says, Karin. Yeah, in theory, if you want our jokes to be not so stupid, we probably in real application we generate it with OpenAI and we'll pass it a real auth key so OpenAI can make make money with us. And finally, it's just a fun fact, like our service so far doesn't have database, right? Our service has no memory. I make empty database, right? You see it, where is my Replit here? It's just, we enter mood, it generates image, it forgets thing, right? The moment we introduce maybe user ID, right? So, save your images, mood images for every day. And then we'll need to have user ID, maybe images, memes of memes, and maybe date, right? So user ID saved yesterday and day before these memes, right? It will be multiple rows. So, and then, yeah, for example, to make this a bit more readable, we can say we get input from the user, we go to OpenAI to generate good joke, then we go to image service, meme generator to get the image, and finally we output it, return to frontend. Sounds like this. So it was probably the fastest architecture diagram I ever built, but it was for illustrative purposes. Good thing about this is real, right? So this is exactly how it works. And of course, it's not to tech details, but your job as a PM to define the high level picture. And this, you basically tell developers, you speak in their language. You tell them exactly what you want. You say there is a front end, I want a service. Yeah, it should be database because I need to store user IDs and memes. I need integration with OpenAPI. There should be another integration. If it's outside integration of service you don't own, you don't mention, you don't mention all of this. But if it's also within your company and you build this other service also, then you also mention it like that, right? So let's say in this case, let's assume we build both services, right? And developers immediately understand what do you want. Then you can have a discussion, right? They say, oh, but why you need, let's say, formats here, we should have another database, totally fine. It's not our job to debate of the database structure, but main point that you can speak in their language. You can clearly explain what do you want. Of course, it's a toy example, right? If you go into okay, that's the answer. Yeah, I forgot to mention that there are obviously API, one images, we generate memes, there is another API, by the way, because you could have asked, there is only buzz image, but what are all images this API provides? Actually, if we call API list all, it returns 100 of images possible. So we can make our service smarter, allow user to choose from one of the background images and then generate a joke. Okay, and the last thing I want to say here, of course, when you do real stuff, is more complex and it becomes more useful, right? It was a toy example, speed architecture diagram, but let's say for e-commerce bicycle shop, internet shop which sells bicycles. This is already more real, right? That's more complex. There are bicycle vendors who upload bicycles. There is a search service of bicycle functionality. There is a big database of bicycles, search page. There's a purchase service to buy bicycles, delivery service. There are API database. So things get real, right? And that's probably how it works in your company. Unfortunately, we don't build image APIs for money. We build more complex stuff. Let me quickly check. There are some questions. Where API in the diagram? Sorry, I forgot, but now hopefully it's clear. They are there. Yes, services talk through APIs, so we have the APIs. So if you don't have a database, that just means the service can't save the generated output. Yes, exactly. If you don't have database, service doesn't have memory, it forgets stuff every time you restart it. That's why we have databases like memory in your brain. It allows you to wake up at night and wake up in the morning and still remember who are you. And for services, it's the same. So the whole idea of the diagram is to prototype the structure of the solution and bring to discussion with the developers so they can generate ideas. Yes, it's first understand yourself the complexity, right? Let's say we build Tinder. Is it just, just the one app with one screen with swipes? If you build it, you understand, okay, I actually need probably 30 different services. And that's first estimation. Second, you start to brainstorm with your team. Usually you start with engineering manager, your right hand, to at least have something more or less which you agree on. That will be the second step. So yes, it's to understand reality and align in definition with your team. In this example, when we build something from scratch, if something is already built, and for example, we just want to introduce purchase service, we might use architecture diagram to understand the surroundings and nicely incorporate our service into the surroundings. For example, in this case, if we just introduced delivery before it was given to our providers, but now it's our job, we first build architecture of everything, understand how things connected, and then inject delivery service in the middle. And then understanding that, we can give good requirements for delivery service. If you call list all, what would the API response look like? Would it return the joke on all images? So in our case, it just doesn't work. Our Replit thing doesn't know how to call list all API. But I think if you go, I'm not sure. Let's not, I won't spend time now, but if you just guys try to call it just with here, you just see black text on white background, and it will be a list of all images. But we can build with Replit, which probably will take a couple of hours to fix errors. Or with a developer, we can say first call that API, get drop down of all backgrounds, and then allow customer to use background. So yeah, it's possible. Where is the chat? Maybe last question. In real business context, are there services where isn't it useful, preferred or required not to have a database? Could you give some example? Honestly, very rarely service doesn't have memory, but I'd say one business example, if let's say we have some analytics service here, and the only thing it does, it takes data from one source, process it, and put it to another source. For example, aggregates, right? It doesn't have to have its own brain. It takes, work, drops, right? But no, usually service has a memory. It's a family of services workers, which just do work, but usually they still have memory to do work on. Okay, cool. Let's finalize quickly. So what's next? In real applications, it's of course is more complex. As I just showed, just a bicycle shop is already a complex thing, but think of other services. There is no shortcut. You cannot learn it in 10 minutes or watching in one video. You need to practice. In the course, there are examples of food delivery service, scooter rental service, document verification service, even Spotify-like service. So it will be a lot of practice. And if you do it also with live part, it will be 2 more services. So a lot of practice. And then after that, you can look at your work with new eyes and continue practice. Let's sum up. We covered why tech skills. We hopefully looked at practiced with one instrument APIs, another instrument architecture, and even played a bit with Replit, which I hope was fun. And I'm surprised that even with a simple example, it managed to mess up. There is much more. There is a service blueprint instrument we didn't have time for, but it's very useful to understand how front-end and user actions connected to backend. Sequence diagrams for API integrations, as I mentioned. There is this thing, SLIs, SLOs, SLAs, indicators, objectives, agreements in application to service health and APIs. There is a role of PM in testing, role of PM in security. There is a full product review and tank complexity estimation, summary of everything we know about tech in a document, which helps you to then create either strategy or PRD. So there is much more. As I mentioned, if you want to practice, if you want to learn, you need to practice. There is a way to do it through a self-paced course or to join live session. And as I mentioned, there is a discount for a couple of days, and then I close early bird. That was it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed it. So maybe a couple more minutes. We still have until 1 hour, 4 minutes. I'm happy to answer questions. Just type them in the chat. I'll be happy to help. Okay. Turika says, what a lovely session. Thanks. Yeah, you are very welcome. Clayton asks, just to check, the API is a gateway or access point to call the service, not the service itself. Yes, so API is a door to the service. Usually you cannot talk to the service without API, is a door. Then there is this thing as an API gateway. Let's say Stripe API gateway is huge, and there are endpoints there. And behind this gateway, there may be 1, 2, 20, 100 services hidden behind. In more real life, if I remove Stripe for a second, it's usually a service offering a couple of APIs. For example, in our case, API to generate image, API to show all possible background images, and let's say API to change a font of whatever, internal font settings. Let's say service offers three APIs. Cool. Karin says it's useful. Anastasia says useful. Nice. Alexander says useful. Okay. Any last questions? Or I'm going to finish here. Okay. If you're trying. Clayton is asking, if you're trying to perform an action that involves calling a service isn't working, how do you test if the problem is with the API the service is calling or the cascade of other services must be called? Haha, that's $1 million question. So unfortunately, there is no short answer, but I'll try to make it very short. So you have a main health metric of the service. It's called SLI, service level indicator. And if it's green and good in a good shape, regarding of other mistakes, you don't care because it means it just doesn't mean for the critical process. But if it's not green and it's red, something is broken, then hopefully understanding the fact that you have, let's say, multiple APIs, the logic and dependencies, you with the team will be able to figure out where is the problem, because you always know when, like, yeah, for example, one of dependencies return errors, then problem is there, right? So if you understand how things are connected, you will able, obviously through your team, most of the times, PMs don't do that, you're able to identify the problem. Coolio. Okay, I think we don't have more questions. Okay, so essentially by understanding the infrastructure, you can identify the problem, kinda. I wouldn't call it infrastructure. Infrastructure is more of a kind of, servers, the machines where code is running, database this like as metal, right? In this case, it's business logic. Usually that's what we care about, unless obviously you don't work in infrastructure product. But yes, understanding how it all connected helps you to divide and conquer. That's what we product managers do. Either a discount you mentioned earlier for the course. Yes, it is. It's in the link. and I'll send it also in a mail, but if you click the link in this chat, it already has discount, and if you go to payment page, discount will apply there. Thanks. Yes, infrastructure. Yeah, business logic, not infrastructure. Cool. Let's finish. Let's stop here. Thank you very much for your participation for Friday evening. I know it was not easy, but I hope you enjoyed, and maybe see you in the course. Bye bye.